Alrighty, welcome back. Another episode, C-Suite Unfiltered with Mike Andes. And congratulations, sir, on two fronts. Number one, you did it. You got married. Congratulations. And number two, you had 200,000 subscribers on your main YouTube channel. So just a couple big accomplishments in the last week or so.
Yeah, dude. I have an email that's gonna come out and a post I have ready to snipe as soon as it's done. But hopefully within the next 24 to 48 hours, the first release at Copilot happens for estimates redesign in the
Ooh.
customer portal. So yeah, within 2 weeks, like good things happened. So yeah, so I have an email. It's just one of those things where it's like you go through long periods of just like pain, and then like I feel like
Mhm.
in short bursts you have wins, and like they just
Mm.
kind of come rapidly. And so that's kind of like, I had to step back this week. I'm like, I'm in that period of like short wins and like I need to embrace this moment because it's been so long,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially with Copilot. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Like that's a big thing in the next 24 to 48 hours when that comes out. That I think will turn a big corner. Um, and so I'm looking forward to clicking send on that email
Yeah.
and sharing that. So,
Cool. That'll be good. Yeah, it's like basketball. They say basketball's a game of runs. Sometimes the team against you will go on a 10-point run, but then you might go on a 12-point run. You just gotta take those ebbs and flows because eventually you'll hit a streak, you'll hit a run. And right now we're in a positive run, so kudos to you. But how does it feel to hit 200,000 subscribers? Is it just kind of Is it like, hey, we can celebrate for a second, but then we got more work to do? Like, what's the balance there? Especially because you do have a large media team, so I don't want to pry. Obviously, they're in the room with us, but is it like a little bit of a celebration for the team? Like, hey, we hit this goal. It's a pretty cool achievement, nice big round number. But then it's like it's just motivation to get to the next level. What's that balance with your team currently?
yeah, like we didn't really talk about a whole lot. We definitely I screenshot it. I was able to capture it at like 4 or 3 in the morning because I woke
Nice.
up early, and so like, oh,
Yeah,
great! I captured when it went to
yeah,
200,000.
yeah.
So I was able to capture it, and I'll put that in the email, I think. But we didn't really celebrate a whole lot. Like the thing
Yeah.
is, right now we're in this weird transition where we know it's about to come, which is like 3 turnarounds we shot last time on the new format, which is super
Hmm.
good,
Cool.
and they're gonna be super fire. So like not this week, but next week the first one comes out. It's so much better than the past ones. Like we just put way more time and effort, and energy into it. We've hired 4 more people on the media team, which is going to get us back onto weekly turnaround shows, but like at a way higher level. I'm like next month will be the first time I ever do 2 turnaround. Maybe not the first time, but like first time, like one of the first time I've done 2 turnaround trips. It's like really focusing on it. We're doing the business breakthrough where we go to bigger businesses and try to like just get them to the next level, big businesses, and so that's gonna be fun too. So, yeah, we're like just really focusing on it. Obviously, it's a my main focus this year, and so yeah, it wasn't like hey, we crossed 200,000, great, that's cool, but like 200,000 is just we need to get to 1 million. So
Yeah.
we have to cross 200,000 to get to 1 million. But yeah, it was fun. It's more for the
Cool.
team. Like they put a lot of effort and energy and stuff into it. I'm in like this weird limbo for the past 3 to 4 months where like we weren't doing turnaround shows
Hmm.
and we were focused on the conference and a lot of stuff internally that I needed to get done. And so now we're kind of really gearing up for what's going to be a pretty cool series of turnaround shows.
Cool. That's sweet. So I don't know if you recall, if you remember, but I used to always send you a congrats when you hit like a new 10K milestone. Now it
Oh
only
yeah.
comes every 100K. So I want you to just
Getting
brace
stingy on
yourself
me,
for
bro.
that.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. Because I remember like way back in the day, because I think when you first hired me, you had less than 10,000 subscribers. And
Yeah.
I think it was like, I remember when you hit 20K, I sent you like a congrats text, and then you hit 30. And so I was like, I'll just do it for every 10. Now, once you hit 100, it's like I had to wait until 200. So, I might just wait till 500 now. So.
Yeah, I'm really hoping this new format, like it's so much work, dude. Like even hiring four
Yeah.
more people is scary. We just made all the courses free, so like we had don't have that revenue channel, but like we will easily spend $2 to $3 million in the media department to make these shows this year.
Yeah.
Between the team and travel, it's expensive. So, but I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good. I think that the new format that starts. I guess it would be 14th. The 21st of March will be the first release of the new format, where I use the
Hmm.
4L framework throughout the whole show. It's much more
Let's go.
put together.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's gonna be fire, dude. It's gonna be really good.
Good. I'm very excited for those. So shout out the media team. Shout out you getting 200,000 subscribers. Is there like a timeline goal? I know you said like, oh, we're going to get to a million, but is there like by this time we want to get to this point, or is it just you're just really relying on that
We just
kind of
we
organic growth?
make better videos. It's like
Yeah.
the best advice for YouTube ever. We just make better videos, and it comes from Mr. Beast. And he just like if you just focus on making better videos, like it'll take care of itself. So, would it be from a the bottleneck has always been getting more turnaround applicants and getting better ones because there's just not enough stories in a solo operator to really make a good story for to watch. So getting larger businesses that have the confidence that we're not going to embarrass people, we actually want to help them grow, and that what we're doing now is having like a 6 week checklist that they need to get done, and then we
Cool.
follow up with them. And so what they're going to start seeing is like people execute, they do really actually turn their business around. In the past, it's been like, ah, I can I show up, do some coaching, and we follow up and see if
Yeah.
they did anything. But there wasn't like these are the 4 things you must get done in the next 6 weeks. Like there's some really good ones coming out that like actually show the
Cool.
business turning around. And like one of them, I told like stop mowing grass and just focus on hardscaping and landscaping. Another one, like very large business, and had a bad acquisition in my opinion, and just made some like very just a lot of fixed expenses. And so like
Mhm.
it's big business though. So the big business ones are really helpful because there's lots of stakes, bigger numbers, etc. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's take a hard right turn and as everybody knows, this is the C-suite unfiltered. So Mike does not know what's coming next. Because it was free and it was online, I decided, you know what I'm going to do this year? I'm going to attend the online jobber summit because
Oh
Gary
yeah,
Vee is a guest speaker, Cody Sanchez is
yeah.
a guest speaker. So I thought, hey, why not? I'll just play it in the background while I'm working. Just need to half pay attention to it. I don't need to give it to my full undivided attention. But anyways, I did want to ask you, as the founder and CEO of Copilot, so let's put the Copilot hat on here, that Jobber had a couple announcements at the beginning of the summit, which I'm sure you and your team are aware of. But I would love to get Mike Andy's public thoughts if he's willing to share two kind of major rollouts that Jobber shared at the beginning of their presentations. And this was from their CEO. I can't remember his name and co-founder. You probably know it, but anyways, he did a quick presentation at the beginning, and there were two things that they're rolling out. Number one was Hey Jobber, so like Hey Siri, Hey Google, where you could give Jobber verbal instructions through the Jobber app for it to create quotes, for it to send text, for it to pull up directions to your next job or the next estimate on your schedule. So that was a really cool demonstration that they had, obviously pre-recorded, but that demonstration was very cool. And then the second rollout that they are coming with is the AI receptionist. So similar to what I would take from Augusta's perspective, a Max AI assistant that can answer your calls and kind of be your first line of defense. So your phone is getting answered. They're rolling that out as well. So did you see this?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your initial
It might
thoughts?
First off, we don't have hundreds of millions of dollars, unfortunately. So, but
Yeah.
they've really hit their cadence in the past 12 months, and I'm happy
Yeah.
about it. Jobber Jobber is really good at simplification and like taking
Hmm.
complex features and things and making it simple for so especially solo operators. And their pricing has always really gone after the solo operator, 40, $50 a month. And then they have like they used to be their highest tiers like $200 a month. Well, now they're going up market. So it's like six,
Hmm.
$700 a month
Hmm.
with these other features, et cetera. And so I'm happy about it because it's bringing up the bottom end of the market in terms of pricing for us, like Copilot, but also just like the overall industry. Um, the challenge that I think they're going to face is because they've appealed so long to the lower end of the market, it's going to be difficult to implement some of these features, not these ones that you mentioned, but like other ones that are more
Hmm.
complex to people that have no employees, one employee,
Hmm.
things like especially on the dispatch board, routing, scheduling. Um, and so, but they, yeah, don't, they're firing all cylinders the past 12 months because they've raised $100 million 2 years ago.
Cool.
Um, and so they've just been able to really do great. Like they were really slow for about 3 years in terms of development, but they've been really firing all cylinders for the past 12 months. So I'm happy about it. Um, and I think in terms of them leaning into AI is like I've looked at the features, I've used them. I think it's much more of a valuation play. Right now, you need to say AI, otherwise, like if your investors are going to not be happy. And
Yeah.
so I think this is a little bit of that. The AI receptionist is really good because it increases the adoption of AI inside of our industry, and especially if it's just like for missed calls, for example.
Mhm.
To be able to have that is really solid. And I think they did a great job with their user interface and how they integrated it. And so I'm really happy about it. I think the part that I still see as, and this is something I looked at it and I basically told our team is like, there's no like if someone's doing under $200,000 in annual revenue, they should use Jobber. It just 100%. Like they should
Yeah, yeah.
100% just use Jobber. If you're gonna stay under 200,000 in annual revenue, just use Jobber. It's so simple. It's so good. And so like, um, I I don't even know if down the road we'll ever actually say different. Because the features that we're even building now and stuff is just not built for that person. And like I know what our roadmap looks like, and we are focused more on the core parts of like the customer portal, the dispatch board, automations. Like that's really where I'm at. They're focused on the AI side, but like Hey Jobber, for example, is it's going to be useful for the solo operator. It's like, hey, send them a mowing quote. It's not going to be able to get in the weeds, attach videos and pictures,
Mhm.
um, tagging. Like it's a whole lot of other tasks, and they'll improve it. I'm sure they will. But like, from the people I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot of their users, inside of their Facebook groups, etc. That's kind of what I'm seeing is like these are features that are they capture 90% of people, and that's why they've gotten so big is because it helps them. But 90% of people inside this industry are the smaller operators. Like we're
Mhm.
really going after that 200,000 plus person, and so yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's very positive, and I think it pushes us to like, hey, we've got to get our engineering team. We've got to create differentiation for the larger operator that wants to
Mhm.
have 5, 10 crews. And there's a lot of things that like that why people have trouble with Jobber. And then like right now it's like, oh snap, I like Jobber, but it's not working in these 2 or 3 major areas that I need to go to Copilot. My hope is that we can refine the UI enough to where it's like, hey, the UI is really good. It's just as simple. The mobile app is really good, and this is going to be really clear in a couple months when we release Field Force app. It is, in my opinion, um, as good, if not better, in terms of user interface than Jobber's app. And so
Cool.
I've seen the mock-ups. We have it with some beta testers. We have it where the mock-ups we've sent out to several owners inside of Augusta and got their feedback. It's so good. So I'm kind of like lying low on saying anything about it
Yeah.
until now, honestly,
Yeah, of course.
because I want it in production, and we haven't even released the other thing that's coming out this week.
Yeah.
So, but it's gonna be good. Like I've told people, and it won't really sink in until later this year. And it's like we've had to go slow so we can go fast, and this is what Jobber did. They went slow for 3 years. They really rebuilt their infrastructure, their team. They raised money so they could go hire really good engineers, and now they're firing on all cylinders. And my hope is that we can get that same spot this year, and then just serve up market of them, which is going to be the people that want to be able to dispatch multiple crews, like a lot of crews, want to have more
Mhm.
complex automations, customization, things like that. So I think it's good. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, yeah, and I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, impressed by the demos that they had, even from, I guess, speaking, let's say more as like the employee, the operator side of things. Like having been someone who was a full time estimator for you for about a year and a half, having a Hey Jobber would be so fantastic, right? Hey Jobber, can you do this for? Hey, can you do this? Instead of like everything being done so manually, like it's such a time suck, especially if you're a manager or an estimator doing everything manually, typing everything up on your phone, or even just bringing, a Chromebook, as we do at Augusta. A lot of estimators will bring, cheap laptop, a Chromebook, just so they can type a little bit faster. But even Jobber just integrating the fact that, hey, I can give it a verbal instruction and it'll actually follow through. I thought that was a huge time saving element for a lot of owners. But then it's at scale. Yeah, what is it serving? It's like, okay, it serves the solo operator, maybe the salesperson, but who else on the team is that really going to serve? Not a ton of people, but it's still, I was very impressed by that feature. Now, the AI receptionist, I do want to talk about a little bit because you said, hey, it's great because it's going to start normalizing AI for our industry. Now, what would you say is different? Now, obviously, you kind of have a couple different hats to wear here, the Copilot hat, the Augusta hat. So not specific to the hats that you wear, but how do you feel about an AI receptionist that is through a CRM and not through the actual brand itself? It's not through the actual contractor that's going to be working on the property. That was a point of contention, I guess, while I was listening to that pitch. I was like, well, how's that work though? It's a generic receptionist. It's not like representative of Bob's Lawn Care, right? How does that work? Because you kind of see it from both sides.
Yeah, like the I know how much money goes into like building Max AI. They obviously have
Mhm.
hundreds of millions of dollars, so they're able to basically do what we've done over the past 2 years. I'm sure they've been working on it about that long too, and they built very similar. They went one model higher than us. They're using a generative model that we don't have. That's why we're rebuilding ours in the next 3 months. Um, I don't think the power of AI is actually going to be super beneficial until you do connect payment, etc. And so that's what we're trying to work on right now. And the challenging part is still like the adoption of it and customers' perception of it is still difficult. And so this is, I knew it was going to take 5, 10 years for it to become like more commonplace and mainstream. There's a fine balance though, like even the user adoption of it inside of jobbers, like Facebook groups, etc. Like people just don't like it. And it's just gonna, is it this AI? Like I don't like talking to a robot. I just immediately hang up. Like I just know that it's going to change over the course of time. And so I'm just being very careful. Like, I don't want to push this too far because we can't have pain now, but we need to stay innovating so that when we get there, when like the customer can adopt it, that we're there, we can be a competitive from an admin perspective.
Mhm.
Um, so I think like the edge cases are the things that you really make your money when it comes to the AI receptionist. So what happens if they get mad? What happens if they complain? What happens if they ask for something outside of the parameters of I want an estimate? Like that is where AI right now really does good, which is lead collection.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's super good for like outside hours. There's only upside to having that instead of just a voicemail. And so
Mhm.
that's where it has an immediate win right now. And that's what currently like a lot of the people in Jobber and in Augusta, like we see the value there. My interest is in over the next year, 2, 3 years, can we build it to where it can take payment, it can cancel services, it can resend access to a customer portal link, it understands the difference between Christmas lights and mowing and all these different services and understands timing and schedules. It can look at the CRM and know when their next visit is, etc. And so it's the edge cases that it will always be that way. Like if an operator, if an operator answering the phone has say a 0.5% to 1% error rate of like 100 tasks, they make one mistake.
Mhm.
AI right now is about 3 to 5 from what I have seen, and that is including of edge cases. It'll make a mistake. It'll record someone's address incorrectly. It'll record a number incorrectly. It'll do a word instead of a number, etc. If you had an operator that was making 5 mistakes out of every 100 calls, for example, you would say they're horrible. And so that's the challenge we have right now. Is if 5 out of 10 people call in, 5 out of 100 call in, and they're unhappy with the service, the AI messes up something with accuracy, etc., then it just looks really bad. And so it'll just keep
Mhm.
improving. It's like I'm just trying to stay careful. Like I don't want to get too far ahead and like where AI is pushed so much that it hurts immediately the customer. But I need to stay right close to that edge so that as time goes on, as the models get better, as we connect it to the CRM, et cetera, and it can do things like payment, taking card information, communicating with the customer via text while it's on the phone, getting pricing to the customer, selling jobs on the phone, etc. We need to be close to it. So I'm just trying to walk that balance. And I don't want to also overinvest into it because right now, like there's no at Augusta is like everyone sees the value on after hours, but a lot of people still want the human on the front end, and
Mhm.
so
Yep.
we allowed them people to opt in or opt out. And so I'm just walking that balance. I see how many people are in versus out, and it's like they're casting a vote every time. Like, do I want AI over a person? And I'm able to see what those numbers are, and like I see the trajectory going like more towards AI. But I believe that will follow the sentiment of the customer. Are they hearing from customers that like that was super cool? I called at 2 a.m. and I was able to get through and get X, Y, and Z done. Or is it like, hey, I didn't really like that. I couldn't get to an operator. I wanted to figure out something with my billing. My credit card expired. Like, is there too much friction? And so I'm just trying to walk that balance. And I know I won't make anyone happy on both sides because there's people very, very pro, very, very, and
Mhm.
they're okay with losing a customer occasionally over it. And there's others like you lose one customer, like we want nothing to do with this. And so
Yeah.
I'm just trying to walk that line and make sure that we're not left behind on it.
Yeah, I want to zoom in on one thing that you said there, kind of the human element. So, is the accuracy rate of a human operator supposed to be 99%? Like 99%, 99 out of 100 tasks they will get right?
That's like a growth. Like I'm sure there's an exact figure, but like how I
Mhm.
like look at it is 1 out of 100 tasks. If they do in a day, they're going to make some sort of mistake. Like wrong keystroke. They click the wrong button. They forget to
Mhm.
save a call note. They forgot to do an upsell on the phone. Whatever it might be. There's going to be times they forget.
Mhm.
And what's nice about AI is it doesn't forget. Like it is
Mhm.
algorithmic, but it will still make a mistake based upon telephony. Like, does it actually hear the thing correctly? Does it record it correctly? Does it go into the right account? Does it realize that this
Mhm.
person called in from a different phone number, but they are a different they are already inside of the CRM. Like, does it recognize that even though it's
Mhm.
from a different phone number? These are the type of things that like now I don't want two profiles created inside of my CRM because someone called from a different phone number. I
Mhm.
need it to know but that the address and the name match and therefore should be going into the same account. These are the type of things that would cause huge amounts of chaos in terms of admin if you have two accounts for the same person simply because they
Right.
called them from a different phone number or gave a different
Mhm.
email. And so it's
Mhm.
like there's so much on the back end that there's still so much to make this good. And yes, you can be like, well, 95% is okay. Like, I'm okay with that, and we can be on the edge. There's a lot of people inside of Augusta, and just in general, like, I'm okay with 95%. This thing answers 24/7. I don't want to have people answering the phone at 20 hours a day, whatever. I can't afford that. I'd rather just go to the AI. They're okay with 95%, but that's not true when you every customer is really important to you and you're getting started and like you just had 10 customers and 15 last week and then 20 and you're growing slowly. Like, you
Mhm.
need every single customer, and so you
Yeah.
hear one bad customer not like it, or you hear a negative review about it, or something goes wrong. It can leave a bad taste in your mouth, and usually only you hear about the bad ones from
Mhm.
customers. So I'm just trying to walk that line fine. I also know the models are getting really good, so like I don't want to over invest into it on our end. I just need to know like the part that we build sits on top of that layer. Is it good enough? And then can we make it, because it's just for Augusta, customize it better than a regular generative model that is just
Mhm.
very generic? It might plug in the customer's name. It's just not going to be able to tailor it to like naming the AI. A lot of different things that we know we can do because it's just for our company. So it's a
Mhm.
balancing act. I just don't
Yeah.
want to rush it.
So totally. No, I agree with you. I'm trying to rationalize, I guess, the human element versus the AI element, the technological element. Because I wonder if you took a poll, maybe we post this poll if people want to participate. If you had AI or human operator, 95%
Oh,
accuracy for both, cost aside, which are you choosing? Same
oh,
accuracy,
if the
cost
accuracy
aside,
is the
which you
same, if the accuracy is the same, I still think that 60 to 70% of people would want. So this is the thing: the accuracy doesn't impact the customer. So like this, there's two different polls you have to put. From a customer's perspective, 90% of people want a human operator. The question is the time savings and the availability and the accuracy good enough to out counteract that customer satisfaction from an
Mhm.
owner's perspective because of all the benefits of AI, like the fact they can answer the
Mhm.
phone 24/7. And so I think it's different polls. I think 80 to 90% of people want to talk to a human. Um, but the question is, at 2 a.m., do they want to hit a voicemail, or they want to get their message through and talk to AI? Well, now all of a sudden
Mhm.
it's probably the opposite, right? So, from a customer's perspective, from an owner's perspective, same thing. It's like, well, in the middle of the day, I want to make sure every lead gets answered and talked to, whatever. Like in the middle of at midnight, I don't want that phone ringing. I want to capture the lead information, and I'd rather have 78 to 82%, which is the average of people that hit the AI, actually give their information, and I can able to get that lead versus 36, 38% of people leaving a voicemail, and then I got to follow up with them. So there's just there's a balance there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm having a hard time seeing that like 95% accuracy is not that good because I mean I don't want to peel back the curtain too much. Maybe you were just really mad at me and you never shared, but I was thinking of my time managing the Bellingham shop. Did I do things at 95% accuracy? I'd be surprised if I did. Like you know what I mean? Like that's a high
Yeah.
bar. That's a high bar to
Well,
achieve. So if people aren't happy with that, and I'm not saying in Augusta. I'm just saying in general, if you have an AI assistant and you're not happy with 95% accuracy, I'd be very surprised that you can go hire, train, and retain someone who's going to operate at 95% accuracy in that same setting. That's just Lee's honest opinion, because I'd be surprised if I operated at 95% accuracy when I was running one of your businesses.
yeah, but it's an assessment of risk. So, for example, if you had a 99% accuracy, you said, "Oh, that's pretty good." Well, okay, let's take flying on a plane, for example. If you had a 99% chance that you were going to get there safely, would you fly a plane? No. There would not be a single person fly tomorrow if 1 out of 100 flights today crashed.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so the risk assessment is what we are going through. Like, there's literally maybe one or two accidents a day when it comes to air travel. It's like
Mhm.
99.9999% that you're going to be there safely. We take the assessment. We're like, We will take that risk. When it comes to AI, it's a matter of like losing a customer. What is that value to you because of the AI? And if that is like, well, I'm okay with losing 1 out of 100, then 99% you're okay with.
Mhm.
If it's 95%, you're like, you probably have a ton of customers coming in, you're at capacity, you don't really care, you just want to save money and be in profit mode. Very different assessment of risk as to what you want every single, the assessment of the accuracy and the dependability of getting there, quote unquote, safely. And so, and then the cost structure goes into that, et cetera. So I would just say it's like everyone has to, right now, for example, with the all the news about several airplanes crashing.
Mhm.
There are some people that are not willing to take this risk now, even though it's
Yeah.
like relatively about the same as usual. But like because it's been in the news, cool. There are people like it's too dangerous. There's a higher risk profile of you getting in your car right now, right? So if right now I said like, hey Lee, there's a 1 out of 100 chance that when you drive home today you're gonna get an accident. Most people wouldn't drive in their car. That's like
Yeah.
that'd be every 3 months driving home from work you get an accident. You'd be like, forget
Yeah.
this, right? And so it's an assessment of risk, and the assessment is dependent on the business. It's dependent on where you're at, what you want from the business. And for yes, some people, 95% is fine. For other people, losing 5 out of 100 customer interactions being negative is like the worst thing ever. And so, yeah, it's a dichotomy to be managed.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's just I don't know. It's kind of comes back to what I'm trying to zoom out to is like, do you want to win or do you want to be right? And being right is being accurate 100 out of 100 times. But that's
Yeah,
also an unrealistic. I was
but
just
you got to
gonna
win
let me
now.
just
For
finish
some people,
this.
you got to win now. You got to win now.
I
Like you
agree.
got to.
I agree.
Some people can't afford it. You know.
Yeah, I know. I 100% agree. I'm trying to be kind of devil's advocate, if you will,
Yeah.
right? I'm trying to
Yeah.
play both sides of the fence here. If you want to be right, that's getting it right 100 out of 100 times. That doesn't scale. Like that's what we've talked about. That's any business book you read that talks about growing, that talks about scaling, that talks about handing things off. You've talked about this a lot. That as you've handed off roles and responsibilities, you know it's probably not going to get done to the same amount of accuracy, the same amount of speed as you have done it. But that's a sacrifice you have to make in order to scale the business. So being right is getting everything done 100 times out of 100 times. Winning is allowing for some of those inconsistencies to happen, trying to perfect them along the way, knowing that your time and your resources are better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with the assessment that like delegation is important to scale. Like the difference here is I think that when it comes to someone answering the phone, yes, I believe an owner should not be answering the phone in order to be able to scale the business. You have alternatives though right now to fix this problem. You can hire an office person, put them in an office, have a computer in front of them, and train them yourself. Probably the highest degree of accuracy, dependability, reliability, customization. You can today go in and change your pricing and they know what it is. It's the best. Also, cost structure is different, right? You have a different risk of higher fixed expenses. You have a different risk of you have to train this person, et cetera. Okay, then you could have a virtual person. Then you could have a virtual assistant company where they just answer the phone calls and they're basically a fancy voicemail machine. And I pay like
Mhm.
$6 a minute for the one that I get at the gym, for example. Every missed call goes to this. They set up appointments. That's all they can do is set up appointments. And they look at our calendar and book an appointment. That's it. Then you can have something like really low, which is right now is AI because AI can't do a lot of things that it would otherwise be able to do if you had a real human, like give pricing, sell a job, answer questions about an estimate, upsell somebody, do all these other things. It can't do that yet. So what's going to happen though is, as we talked about, the technology will go up that stack, and at the same time it'll
Mhm.
get cheaper. And so eventually those will intersect. Like I believe that, but right now, there are options to delegating the task of answering the phone or fill in the blank. But I agree with you, the assessment, like, yes, to scale, you need to hand this off, but there are other ways to hand this off right now. And people might be willing to pay more to be able to have a higher degree of accuracy, customization, dependability, training. Like you can't just walk in and be like, hey, I want today for you to follow up with every single of the customers. I want to give them 10% off if they schedule for next Thursday. And like, you can walk into and have a 5 minute meeting with your office person, and that gets done today. And
Totally.
like you can't do that with AI. It was like, hey, as of today, we're changing the pricing. Anyone that was for the last 3 weeks, I want you to call them, upsell them in this other thing, give them a discount if they accept this one specific day. Only do it for 2 customers. Like it's not there yet. Which that is a 5 minute conversation with someone in person. So, but it'll get there. It's just a matter of like, it is a very, very important balance that we need to win now. And so we need to
Mhm.
invest in this thing that is going to be improving. It's going to get better, but we also need to manage today's expectation of the customer, which is customers don't want it. They don't like. There's 70% of people that don't want it unless it's in the middle of the night, unless it's after hours, and they would rather over a voicemail. I have pretty clear data on that, but they would usually prefer to talk to a human. And as the AI gets better, maybe that will change.
Yeah. Well, the data that you have is convincing. I'm just going to put out a disclaimer. I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just trying to just
You're
create
steel
a,
manning.
an arg. I'm steel
You're
manning. I'm trying
steel
to create
manning.
an argument.
People in the
This
comments
is the
sometimes think you actually believe what you're saying. So
yeah, in all honesty, like that's what I was gonna say. This is a lead disclaimer. I'm
yeah,
probably not the most pro technology, to be
no, you're
100%
not.
honest. I'm very traditional in a lot of my views, but I'm gonna argue the opposite and try to just push the envelope and
Yeah,
try to give a different
yeah.
perspective. So I am
Good
steel
disclaimer.
manning. So please don't
Everyone
rake
goes
me over the
against you in the
coals.
comments.
I know last time we talked about AI, I got in some hot water. So I just want to be very clear. I'm not telling anyone what to do in their business. I want you to win. I want everyone that's listening to this to win. And if that means
Yeah,
not using AI and hating it gets you to win, fantastic. If that means embracing it and letting it parent your children, go for it. If that's going to get you to win, go ahead. Do what you got to do.
yeah.
So,
And I act only in the best interest of Augusta Nation. And
yeah.
so only thing I am managing is that balance, and I operate based upon them voting every single day as to what they want. Um, and I know what those numbers are, which way it's trending, and the acceptance of it, the people that don't like it. I understand those aspects. So I only care about winning for Augusta Nation. That's all I care about. I
Yeah.
don't care about technology. I don't care about AI. I don't care about Sam Altman and OpenAI. I could care less. I just want to win, and balancing that for Augusta Nation is important.
Perfect. That's fantastic. Well, I had one thing I wanted to talk about. We have a lot of topics. We took a week off, lots happening in the world. But I did have one thing I had to bring up. Now, some people are asking, is it odd that Mike left the country at the same time Andrew Tate came back to the country? Is there any correlation there? Is there any coincidence? Kind of weird. People are asking. But
I
Andrew
don't think
Tate back
anyone
on.
thought that. I don't think anyone in the world thought that this past
It was
week.
just a bit. Let Lee have his bit. All right. It was my bit. But I'm assuming you heard he's back in the US. We don't have to give him much airtime, but he is a polarizing figure. He's obviously trending as soon as he came back to the US. Any thoughts on him coming back to the US, or did you see any news or headlines about this?
No, dude. No,
Yeah.
not at all. I saw
Yeah,
he
no
was on
worries.
Patrick Bet David's
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but that's
Well,
all I didn't watch
appreciate
anything. I just saw a picture.
yeah, appreciate you bringing that up. So I listened to it, so you didn't have to. um, it is interesting because he's a very polarizing figure. And I would say, to Steelman, if you will, if I were supporting him, here's why I think he's so engaging and connects with so many people. I would summarize it as this: he has every single pregame high school pump up speech with philosophy and religion mixed in there. Like
Yeah,
that is what he is. He gets people engaged, he gets them pumped up, he gets them excited. Like he's a very good communicator, the way in which he uses his words. And then he sprinkles in some philosophy and some religion and some worldviews in there to make him seem much more intellectual. And I do believe he's well educated, whether he's biased in his education or not. Like the way he speaks, he is educated. Like he knows what he's talking about when he has opinions on things. Do I agree with his opinions? Not necessarily, but I think you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater in the sense like he is educated, he has had experiences, and he is engaging. And I think that's why he has traction. People want to listen to him. Like for me, that was a 3 hour podcast. Yes, I listened to it at like 2x speed, but I actually enjoyed listening to the whole thing. Not that I agreed with everything, let me be clear, but it was actually very engaging the whole time because it's very quick, it's very witty. And that was kind of my takeaway. I saw why people are so attracted to him by listening to that podcast. Now, what I will say, I know you have thoughts. I did lose a little bit of respect for Patrick Bet David because it went off the rails multiple times, and there were lots of inappropriate jokes and comments that I have no that were very distasteful. I have no respect for some of the comments that were made on that podcast, but I wanted to listen to it from an educational perspective to see why are people so attracted to this person.
yeah. So my biggest takeaway from what you just said is the 2x speed thing on YouTube. It can
Yeah,
now, if you have YouTube Premium, it can go to 4x speed,
yeah,
bro. I was listening to videos at 3x yesterday. It was fantastic. You definitely
yeah,
miss some context, but
yeah,
dude, you get the general gist, bro. You can consume so much data. It's
yeah.
so amazing. I just can't wait till it's like a chip. You just program it in, you download the 3 hour podcast in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really have a whole lot of comments. I agree with you. Like, it's definitely a polarizing figure. I think at the very beginning, I was more or less against him because of some of the comments he says about specifically women.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, 100%.
but it's definitely interesting. Why does this person, you know? Also, we're moving out of this cancel culture into a much more of like, hey, say whatever you
Mhm.
want and whatever you think. So that's why this adoption of his is going to come around more, I think, and the fact that he can come back to the U.S. now, et cetera. He's not. You know, being blocked or banned on platforms. He's not being deplatformed. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of opinions on it. I just
Yeah.
generally, it just like I usually think about when it comes to people like that are characters. I say, what would it like be working for them? That's actually
Hmm.
my like now new litmus test is like, could I work for this person? Would I be inspired? Would I look up to them? Would I think that they have good morals? Um, would I want to work harder for them? Would I ascribe discretionary effort to them? Um, would I work overtime at night on the weekends to push their mission forward? Like that is not my litmus test, and I don't know if I could do that for Mr. Tate. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, that's my new litmus test.
Yeah, that's a good litmus test. I will say, as polarizing as he is, and if anyone who's listening hates him vehemently, totally fine. I understand that. That's your opinion. You can have that. I would recommend listening to like the last 5 minutes of the podcast because basically Patrick Bet David is like, "Hey, what's your kind of word to the haters out there?" And I was like, "Okay, that's like the cheesiest way to end a podcast, but whatever. Yeah, talk to the haters." But he actually spoke very eloquently about like his opinions on like people should be able to get their voice out there. They should have a fair trial. If they're accused of something, they should be able to stand in a public court and defend themselves. And there were many statements he made in that final couple of minutes that I was like, I 100% agree with this. Whether you're crazy, whatever, left wing, right wing, like you should agree with some of these core statements. Like if you're accused of something, you should get a fair trial. If you have an opinion, you should be able to share it. And we, as the court of public opinion, can shoot you down if we hate that idea and call you dumb. But if it's great, we can bolster you up and say this is a great idea. So I think to his credit, I do believe that he is more of a free speech absolutist, where like you should be able to say whatever you want, whether you agree with that or not. Like he holds to that belief, and I think he truly believes it for himself and for his quote unquote haters. So listen to the last 5 minutes. Not trying to like I'm not a fan of his. I don't subscribe to him, but I did want to listen to this content because it was a big news story.
Let's go.
So that
No
was all I
correlation to
got.
Michael moving outside the country. Can
Well,
promise you that.
people were asking. People were asking. All right. Any not financial advice for the people to wrap up this week?
You go ahead, lead us off.
Alrighty. So I was getting dinner with Marcus Roberts, great guy, a week or so ago. He helped me
Hey,
out. So
dude,
thank you,
by the way,
Marcus.
happy birthday. Like,
Oh, thank you.
since
Yeah.
the last time it was your birthday, you went out and
Yeah.
hustled
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that day, went down to Seattle, spoke at an
Yeah.
event. Let's go, dude.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It was my pleasure. It was my honor. So, anyways, I went down to Seattle, met up with Marcus. He helped me out at the event, and we went and got dinner after. And I came up with a new strategy. Anytime someone tells you like where they live or where they brought property or where their house is, the response every time, no matter if you know the context or not, just great spot. That's a great spot. That's all. That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. Because I was being genuine in the moment, but I was also like, you really could say that, like, oh yeah, I got a house over here. I bought this property. Great spot. That's a great spot. So that's my not financial advice. Anytime someone tells you about property or where they live or a house they're purchasing, just tell them it's a great spot. It's a great spot.
Let's go. Okay, my not financial advice is um well, I just blinked. Wow. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay. So the last couple days been a great opportunity to buy the S&P 500, baby. Let's
Oh
go.
yeah,
We had a
yeah,
little bit of
yeah.
a flash crash there because of Trump's threats with the Canadian aluminum tariffs. That was great. Completely overstated. Literally, do you hear what happened yesterday? Ontario
I'm.
basically like said,
Oh
"Hey,
yeah.
the energy that we're exporting to New Jersey and New York, we're going to raise prices." If you actually run the math, it was going to increase prices by like 1 to 4%, based because only like 4% of their energy from the state. Like it was not a huge deal. Trump makes
Mhm.
this a massive deal as if like there's retaliatory tariffs, so we're going to do 50% or 25% on aluminum. It was not a big deal, honestly, but immediately they recanted and like drew it back because it obviously is a way bigger deal if you charged aluminum tariffs versus like energy tariffs to a couple states. Um, but when he did that, dude, the wee little flash crash happened yesterday. There was a lot of downward
Hmm.
pressure in the
Hmm.
stock market. Now, I'm only buying indexes. As of last July, I sold out all
Yes.
individual stocks. I'm only in indexes. There's six of them that I do to kind of go between dividends and like more established, and then growth stocks, Russell 2000, the smaller ones,
Yeah. Got
S&P 500,
hammered.
etc. Yeah, dude, everything was getting hammered. So I bought in. So I have money
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
aside for the building because I sold my real estate thinking we were going to
Hmm.
build, and now it's been delayed. And so I have that money set aside. I don't want to touch that if possible, even though we're using a lot of money right now for Copilot. I want to leave that money set aside so like we can build the building. I think it's important to a lot of what we're trying to do with franchise training, etc. So I had that money kind of earmarked, and I have a little bit over what I know the budget's gonna be. So I was like, oh, we gotta
Hmm.
buy in, maybe. So yeah, dude. On Monday and Tuesday, went shopping a little bit. First time in two
Nice. Yeah.
years I've bought stocks because
Yeah.
I bought a whole bunch of stocks 2 years ago when it was low, and like since
Hmm.
then I've just actually just been mostly selling off, and I sold all of my individual stocks, and then I bought some more indices the other day,
Nice.
a little six-figure purchase. It's so great because Brianna's not used to that stuff, so I was like, hey, guess what? I went shopping today. I spent 100 grand, and she's like, what? I'm like, I bought stocks. It's all good. It's very fun.
Yeah, dude, that's fantastic. Yeah, my favorite meme I saw over the last few days in the stock market is it was like buy the dip with what?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just
exactly.
like people being like, dude,
Eggs,
my whole
bro.
portfolio is
Eggs.
getting hammered. I don't know what I'm supposed to buy the dip with.
Yeah, dude,
So
if you're
yeah,
in
no,
Tesla, like Tesla's down 50%.
mhm.
Um,
Well, that's the thing too. Okay, now
Palantir.
we're not financial advice, but here's an interesting thought. People were looking at the long term like Tesla investment because obviously, haha, Elon, he's the worst, right? Is like a lot of sentiment around him right now, negative sentiment towards Elon and Tesla. How's that work with inflation? Because technically, people are like, well, actually, you're losing money on Tesla stock now because the stock is technically worth more, and from a stock market valuation perspective, but with inflation, it's actually devalued, but then you have stock splits that raise value. So there's like so many different layers to that. So how do you actually look if you're like up, like long term? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but stock splits don't raise value. They just divide the value. Like it's one pie, you cut it into more
Right, right,
pieces.
right, right, right. Yeah, no, that was just like an additive. Yeah, but I'm saying like when you look at it from just a strictly, I bought it for $100 at in 2019, but
Yeah.
now it's $150 in 2024. Technically, it didn't really go up much in value, if not down in value.
Oh, so you're basically saying take out stock splits, but you're saying because of inflation, it eats away at all the gains.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The alternative, though, is that you would have kept cash, and the cash would have
Mhm.
gone zero increase.
Right. Yeah.
So, yes, you're right. But also, like it does, you also look at your returns from a inflation adjustment. So, like if inflation is going up, say 2-3%, yes, like technically it's getting eaten away at your return. But that number is volatile and going up and down all the time. So it's easier just to usually use absolute numbers. Like, did your house go up in value? Yes. It went up from 300,000 to 500,000, but like my property taxes went up, inflation went up, all this other stuff. And so it's usually just easiest to look at absolute value. But then, yes, inflation eats into that. But calculating your inflation adjusted returns on a daily basis would be difficult because inflation's moving up all the time and then the value of the
Mhm.
stock is going up all the time. And so, but yes, of course, inflation eats into any returns. And the reason the stock market will always go up is because of inflation. And good companies can raise prices typically at or above inflation. And so that's why having the money in the stock market is usually always has outperformed having cash over the course of more than 3 or 4 years. As long as you keep the money in, it will go up. Like that is one thing you're pretty confident in. The stock market will always go up in the long term. And the reason is because of inflation. And if a company makes good products, they can raise their prices faster than the rate of inflation, and therefore the earnings per share will go up. And so,
Mhm.
real estate, same thing. It's similar. It's like will it always go up? Yes, in the long run, it always will, as long as there's inflation. Now we won't have inflation though. We will have deflation if we lose the value of the currency. And so, oh wow, this is getting really deep. So we're not going to go this direction. But like if we couldn't get any more debt for the United States and the dollar collapsed, all of a sudden our money's not worth anything, then you'd have deflation, and that would not be true. But assuming we live in an inflative environment, then the value of these things will always go up. And
Mhm.
assuming that yeah, there's a lot of assumptions, but anyways, It's better to
What
buy
do you?
productive assets than to
Yeah.
going and buying a car. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
I
Oh,
can
now,
guarantee you in 10
I
years
mean,
your car will be worth less in 10 years. I can guarantee you in 10 years the valuation of the S&P 500 will be higher, assuming that we continue to have, value in the dollar.
yeah, fair enough. Okay, if you have another minute, because we're off on this tangent, if you have a minute, is
Yep.
interest rates. Nobody's talking about
Yep.
them anymore. There was a hot button issue last year. So, what are your thoughts on those and speculation that they're going to keep decreasing over this year? And really, they have like I heard a 2-year target for 2027 of getting it back down like to like 2% or something crazy. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think interest rates will get down to 2%. I don't believe that. I think they're actually
Yeah,
going
that
to
was just that was like
normalize.
literally like that was one Forbes article I saw that was like the
Yeah.
2027 goals get them back to like 2.5% by 2027. And I was like, well, I don't know
Like
about
more
that, but
are you talking mortgage interest rates or are you talking like actual Fed fund rate?
sorry, I just pulled up the article while you were
You're
talking.
good.
I can't remember the exact, but I can try to find it.
Yeah, like I don't believe interest rates will go at 2.5% mortgage interest rates on a 30-year fixed mortgage for a I could be wrong. Like we have to go into what would happen there. We have to have a forced recession um, because of all the tariff stuff and massive fiscal cutting from the government that causes a recession, and then we cut interest rates to fund that. If that happens, bro, like there's so much opportunity sitting out. Like yeah. Anyways, all that to say, I don't think that'll happen because we have inflation to deal with, and we have a debt. Like the reason there's a good argument that if we cut fiscal spending, we artificially go into a recession, we bring interest rates way down, and then we can refinance our debt on longer terms. Because right now there's so much debt that this year has to be paid back. Um, that there's a valid argument for that from an economic perspective. It's very risky because you risk going into a massive recession and then not being able to get anyone to find anyone to actually buy the debt, like buy the treasury bonds and buy T-bills, etc. So, yeah, like I would not want to be, dude. Like these people, they're smart. Like I don't want to ever have like a treasuries, Jerome Powell's job, etc. Like they are in such a hard spot right now because they have to walk this fine line of like keeping the economy propped up, but you also got debt, so you can't let interest rates go too high. But if you don't, then inflation starts to run, and then that's bad politically. So then it's just like so many different things. So, um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting the next couple of years, what they do, and there's a really good argument from one of the members of the All In Pod that really described what could potentially happen with cutting federal spending. Because when you do that, everyone's like, yeah, that's great, but it's going to cause massive amount of job layoffs, and like about 30%, 30 to 40% of GDP is from government spending. And so if you cut that massively, you could have a negative GDP growth simply because you cut a bunch of jobs, mass amounts of if you actually went the route of laying tons of people off and at the same time AI really putting pressure on getting rid of a lot of workers as well, we could have a lot of unemployment. If unemployment goes high, we have a recession. If we have a recession, we have negative GDP growth. Like interest rates will come back down. They'll have to because they'll have to spur back the economy. So there's a good argument that this could be done artificially, and it's like you really cut federal spending using Doge, you lay people off, you artificially get us into a recession so that you can refinance the debt and then grow from there. Um, like that's a valid argument. It's just risky. And so it'd be really interesting to see what happens with all this federal spending cuts. I'm a fan of it. I just know that I'm not a fan of people losing their jobs. I'm not a fan of like unemployment going really high, and it's just moving very quickly right now. So it's very fun.
All right. Well, that's the pod. I have nothing to add to that. It's just there's a lot of moving parts. Maybe we do a macroeconomics deep
Yeah,
dive
dude.
next
I'm
episode if
down.
you want.
I'm
But
down. Yeah,
all
I'm
right,
fine.
cool.
Yeah.
I'll try to get educated. That'll only take me a couple days. All right, like
Take
and
that
subscribe.
education. See you guys.